Alright guys, it's Jim. So today, this is part 3 of the affiliate course, and this is probably one of my favorite topics because it's just fun. I mean, it's kind of hard work, but it works, and once you set it up, I mean, when you think about like making money while you sleep and all the internet lifestyle stuff, it's like automation and setting it up is kind of like the key to that, right? So how do you automate your business? And so day 3 is really sort of like email follow-ups with regards to your affiliate business, right? So step 1 was getting people to subscribe to your list in whatever niche it is, related to the product you're promoting. Step 2 was creating a cool thank you page, which further engages them and gets them not only to, gets them to the thing that you're giving them away, so giving them the download button, or whatever, but also giving them another layer, opportunities for other layers of involvement with you, whether that's like Facebook groups or subscribing to your YouTube channel or, you name it. And then thirdly, I called it thank you page profits because often, what works is to put an offer of some kind on that thank you page, right? So, that could just be a soft sell into, a discounted program, that you're running or that somebody else is running or that's just a product on ClickBank or whatever. So, you don't want to put them straight to the product though, right? I mean, with your marketing efforts, you don't want to, so where we've gotten to thus far is when you're promoting affiliate products, you don't want to move people from their point of entry, which is your content, your advertising, whatever. You don't want them to go directly from that point to the product that you're promoting. You want to build a bridge between those two things by putting a stop there where they have to share their email address. And yes, that's going to mean that you send less traffic to that promotion ultimately than you would if you're just going direct. But, in that bridge part, in the middle there, you're building your email list, and then you can promote to people again and again all sorts of different products that relate to your niche, right? Which is sort of how you're going to build a business out of this, right? All right. And that's where we get to day 3, where we start getting into, okay, we've moved away from the thank you page. Now we're starting to communicate with these folks via email, and we're doing that because they've just given us their email address, right? And so what we're looking at on the screen today is an example of a more complicated email automation than you're going to need to build, but I'm just kind of showing this to you because you should know that with all the different autoresponder services, whether you're doing this in Builderall, which is kind of one of the products I've been talking about lately, they've got something like this. This particular screen is done in ActiveCampaign, which is something I've been using for a few years, and I really like their automation area. You can do this in GetResponse, which is another service I use. So it doesn't matter, whatever email automation, email autoresponder service you use, they've probably got this kind of automation feature, and you need to get to know how to use it because this is different than autoresponders. This is different than sending broadcast campaign emails. This is where you sort of like set it and forget it. And the way I do this is the way I like to do it, which I think is pretty unique. So I can't believe just sharing this with you. I probably would charge quite a bit to share this with how I do this with somebody. But basically, what I do is set up an automation where I can go in and grab any list I want out of my email lists or multiple lists, and I can just drop contacts into this automation anytime I want. There's people who do this in other ways where they sort of time it so they get dropped into the automation, twice or 3 times a year, for example. So every 3 months you can do it. There's all sorts of different ways you can do this, but the science of email marketing is a lot of fun to get into. And this is where you really kind of automate your business, right? So now you're building leads, like we talked about. Now you got to do something with them. And so what I like to do is build automations around different products that I'm either selling, that I created, services I'm selling. So if I'm doing stuff for offline, or products I'm promoting, right, as an affiliate. And so this is a product promotion as an affiliate. And so what I do is send an email day one, which is like, hey, this is happening. There's all sorts of different ways you can do this, but you could lead in with like a pre-launch kind of thing or whatever you want to do. But the crux of it is that you're introducing a subject, a topic, a product all together, and that's kind of the beginning of the conversation, right? So, I never make a really hard sale in the beginning of the conversation. I just sort of throw it out there like, hey, I was doing this, or, tell a related story, and then, oh, by the way, there's something that's happening that you should look at. Now, in this particular case, I was promoting a webinar that was coming up, and I was saying, hey, there's this product I really like. It's pretty cool. They've got a webinar coming up in a couple of days, and if you'll register for that webinar, then I'm going to give you a few bonuses, right? So that's what the beginning of the email sequence was in this case, is promoting a webinar. And, that's another secret to this is the time-based nature of an automation, right? So you want to sort of think about this as it's going to have a beginning and it's going to have an end. And the way you kind of help push people through this and get them to take action is by giving them a limit of some kind. Time's going to run out. The webinar is this date, and there may not be a replay. The price goes up in 3 days. So you always want to be thinking backwards, like, okay, this is, the price is going to go up on this product on Monday, so I want to start this promo on Thursday or Friday, and I'm going to push hard over the weekend right up till Monday when the sale ends, right? So that's kind of how you're building this automation. And then, that's kind of what we do, right? So I send that first email, then I wait for a day, and then I'm asking a question, and this is where the automations are different than autoresponders or email campaigns, is I just set it so it waits a day, and then I ask a question, so ActiveCampaign, GetResponse does this. They've got these things in their automations where you can just say, did the contact that you sent this email to open the email? And so that's the first thing I'm checking, right? So I want to know the openers. I'm going to put them over here. So yes, they opened it. Okay. And then my next question is going to be, have they clicked on the link that I wanted them to click on, which is to register for the webinar? Did they click the link? So that's my next question. And so if yes, then I'm going to, they've already taken the action I want them to take. These are the good people, right? And they've already made a decision, like maybe they decided not to register or maybe they did. So I'm not going to push it. They've taken that action I wanted them to take. And if they got to the page and it wasn't for them, that's cool, right? I'm not going to force anything. But I also just like to sort of, put it out there, like, don't forget, these are the bonuses. You get them whether you register, whether you end up going to the webinar or whether you like the product. There's no pressure to buy anything. And there's going to be some educational stuff. I just kind of pitch some of the benefits of joining the webinar, soft sell again, and, and then repitch the bonuses, right? So, there is my day one email. So you can see I've gone through this whole sequence, right? Or I guess this is the day 2 email technically. Sometimes I start with day 0. Now, we go over here to the no, did they open? So now this is where, and Frank Kern was like kind of, where I learned this a little bit. He's not the only one, but the thing about email marketing is that people are busy and they're getting a ton of emails. So most people aren't going to open your email, and it's not personal. It's like they're just busy and they get a lot of other emails. And so his point was, don't be afraid to email them a lot. If they didn't open your email, don't be afraid to email them again and be like, you didn't get this and you didn't open it, So that's all I'm doing here. these people didn't open this, so I'm going to send them another email. It's basically just a copy of this, except I change the subject and try to make it a more like catchy subject, right? And so I'm just trying to get them into the sequence, right? And that begins with them opening the email. So this is where a lot of money is lost in email follow-up in our business, in our line of work, because most people send out one broadcast, okay, and they get the results they get. Pretty sophisticated, intermediate, advanced marketers send out lots of emails, 3, 4, 5 emails over the course of 3 days to promote the product, right? And they do better than that first group I just talked about. That's going to do better for you than just sending one email, because you're going to get more openers, and you're going to catch people, maybe on payday or whatever during that 3 or 4 days, and they're going to get more sales, right? So sending more emails equals more sales, especially when you're promoting something. And then there's this, which is kind of like the most advanced, which is, you spend the time to sit here and think through all the emails you want to send, and then, you think through all the scenarios, right? Did they open? So you just keep pushing emails to the people who didn't open, so that you're trying to get as many opens on that email as possible, right? So this is like the best of email marketing in terms of getting, as many sort of actions as you can get, right? And I'm not like a great copywriter, I'm not a great email writer. So, there's clearly people who could do this better than me just by writing better emails, and they probably write, you could make this even more sophisticated than I did. But basically all I do is just keep, I go, so this was a 3-day promo, I go 3 emails, right? Every day I'm sending these people who didn't open a different subject with this kind of the same email, ultimately, but I'm just trying to get them to open it, right? And try, more catchy subject lines, okay? And then what happens is, as people open it, then I want to know, do they click on the link, right? So then I've got kind of my email follow-ups that are like, hey, I know you opened it. So now at this point, I'm kind of like, I reposition the email to these folks, the people who opened it but didn't click. Now I start to reposition the emails and start to, get away from the soft sell into more of a harder sell on like the click, right? Just getting them to click and register, because that's kind of the next phase in the transaction, isn't it? I'm not trying to make a sale here. I'm not selling anything. All I'm trying to sell is the click, right? So at this phase, we kind of just talked through all these people who are non-openers. What I'm trying to sell there is a subject line to open the email, right? So think about your email marketing. Like, the first sale is getting them to open the email, and that really comes from the subject line and who you are, your name being there, and them knowing that, you're going to send them a good email and you're valuable and stuff like that. The second sell is getting the click, isn't it? So you get them to give you that click, okay? And now the third thing is, you're trying to get them to make the purchase or do the registration or, whatever. Generally with email marketing, the thing that happens is it's just a handoff, isn't it? So, getting them to open the email, getting them to click and take the action, whether it's register or whatever, those are the only things that you can do. But, after they leave the email, it's kind of the responsibility of the page they land on to sort of close the deal, right? So, if you can get people to click, but they don't sign up or they don't buy the product you're selling or whatever, that's a problem with the page they're landing on. It's not a problem with your email marketing, right? In your email marketing, all you can control is getting them to open the email, getting them to click, okay? So I got to remind myself of that sometimes too. It's easy to start writing a sales pitch when you're writing your emails, and that's not really what you want. All you're selling is the click. You're not selling the product. Anyway, back to reality here. So here's the deal. Now we've gotten these people, they're opening the emails. We're trying to sell the click, right? So now all I'm doing, since this is a 3-day promo, the webinar's coming up, I'm just going to end it, so after a couple of days, if it starts on Friday, then by Sunday, I'm not worried about the openers anymore. I've done all I can, and I just dump them all into, the clickers, non-clickers sequences over here, and, so that they just keep getting emails just to put something in front of them. The last thing I did, I set these automations up, which, either for the non-clickers and the clickers, for the clickers, this is a reminder email. For the non-clickers, I just send them to the last email I sent to the clickers, which is just again, kind of a soft sell on the click, which is, there's a webinar coming up, there's going to be some educational stuff there, you don't have to buy anything to get these bonuses I'm going to give you, etc. But what I do at this point is, instead of these vague wait for one day kind of things, I actually make very specific time settings in here. So if I know the webinar is going to be on Monday afternoon at 5 Eastern, then I want these emails to go out at like noon on Monday and at like 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday, right? And maybe even one right at 5, trying to follow up and get people to register one last time. So that's where you want to use these automations, and start going from the vague, like, oh, did they open, all the way down to, here's the emails I'm going to send right at the last minute, and they've got to be very specific to the day and time, right? And you can do that. So this is way better than doing the age-old autoresponder and just putting 10 emails in there that are like, hey, I'm Jim, and you should follow this training and stuff like that. I mean, we all do that. It's still happening. But when it comes to promoting something, do it like this, and then you can reuse it over and over again. And the cool thing is I sat down, I wrote all these emails. Most of them are just copies of each other. I always just duplicate the email, and then I just change a few things, change the subject. But I did this all on Friday afternoon, or not Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, before I started sending this on Friday. I set this all up. I could relax all weekend, right? And yet I know that these emails are going out. I'm getting people to register, and, there you go. So that's the way you build stuff that lets you relax a little bit, still have your weekends while you're, making money and stuff like that in your business. So there you go. That is your email marketing task. So, the first thing I would do, and I always write these emails in just a Word document, because it's just easier that way to keep them all tied together. So, I just write this stuff up in Word, especially that first email, and then, like I said, I just duplicate them and change a few things. But, your first task when it comes to kind of leveraging this in your business is open up your document and just write out your first couple of emails that you're going to send somebody. Are you going to do an immediate promotion? Are you going to put them in a class? Are you going to give them a discount on one of your courses? Are you going to send them to a ClickBank product? It doesn't really matter. But just think about, it's not so much the quality. So you're selling the click in your emails. It's not so much like being a, amazing copywriter to write these emails or getting stuck on, what story you're going to tell. Think first about the fundamentals, which are, getting them to open the email. Once they're in the email, getting them to click the link, right? Is it going to take a couple bonuses to get them to click and take the action you want? Is it going to, take some curiosity or, some proof of some kind, to get them to click the link? Whatever it is, get them to click the link, and then let the page that they land on sort of take care of the rest, right? So, yeah, that's your task is, set up some emails, build them in, even if you just do an autoresponder and you don't do anything sophisticated like we're looking at here, let's just say you do an autoresponder that's just day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Get 5 days of emails out there, okay? So that every time somebody new subscribes, they're just, they're getting to know you a little bit. they're getting your name in their inbox, in their email inbox, and they're starting to know you. And it's all happening in an automated fashion, right? So that would be my task for you in your affiliate business. And whatever business you're doing, you can do this with offline or online or whatever. And then we'll see you in the next course, all right? Thanks for joining me.